Ladies and gentlemen, chess is big. Whether it is Mittens or Magnus Carlsen or even the Hans Niemann cheating scandal, it has gotten very popular. But you know what's also gotten big? The 2024 Daily Chess Championship. And I am not joking when I say big, when we see that we have had 63,000 people participating in this tournament alone. It breaks multiple correspondence chess records, and this is a tournament to surely remember. And so I'm just going to go show you some of my games, some brilliance, blunders, crazy tactics, horrible mistakes and ideas. The list goes on. But you want to know something? I was lucky enough to make it to the second round. So thank you for everyone that played in my group. It was a lot of fun. Let's get started off with our first game. And the first game was against my buddy, Emir, from Germany. Emir is 400 rapid. And usually when all my opponents are unrated in daily, I like to go check their rapid stats before I start playing. It's kind of something that I do nonchalantly because then I get to know what their actual strength is. So, realizing that he's a 400, I decided to go with d4, d5, and start off with a London because I feel like this is a good beginner opening, and if he tries to do anything funky, I can just stay real solid. And first three moves, brings out his knights, and we're all good. And then he brings out his knight, protected by the pawn, to control as much space. And he's probably going to get ideas of f6 and e5, strike at my bishop. And so, me being a principled person, I decided to go bishop d3 and just try and put some pressure on the knight. But he's 400 elo, and therefore he makes his first mistake, playing e5. Therefore, this pawn is undefended, so it can be taken by 3 different pieces. A lot of beginners don't know that when they push pawns or they just push pieces out into the middle of nowhere, they don't realize that it can be taken by not 1, but not 2, but 3 pieces. So I take with the pawn. Now I realize that my pawns are doubled, and I know this is a little bit of an inaccuracy, but I said, hey, if he tries to strike back, I'm going to take right back. So he plays bishop here, and I block with c3. And then it starts to get even more wild. He sacrifices the knight, and this is pretty much losing. And I had no reason or understanding of why he even took. And when I saw this move, I was like, excuse me, what? And so I was like, okay, easy win. I'm going to take, he's going to push, but this push is prevented by this pawn. That's the entire reason why I said I'm going to double my pawns, even in a way that I can take, and castle. And I said, I'm going to castle because it's better to be safe than sorry. I could have taken the knight and done a tactic, but 400 elo players are definitely weird. So, knight takes, queen takes, and we are in a winning position. He's going to castle. In this position, knowing that he is going to castle, I said, okay, I have my bishops. One is staring here, one is staring here. I have my queen straight down the middle. I'm going to start an attack on this side. Now, he may feel safe right now, but this is not safe. Ladies and gentlemen, he's going to get hit with quite a few things. So I play this queen move. I centralize the queen. I say, hey, I'm going to address something. I'm either going to checkmate you or I'm going to take your bishop. He plays this. Now, instantly, I can just take your bishop. But I also have queen here. And that forces the king out. But I don't play it. And the reason why I didn't play it was because I wanted to not play it right away due to a king escape. And at first, I didn't calculate a whole lot. And I didn't want to calculate as much because I was already winning. And so I decided to play a little bit more passive move in rook a to d1. Now, I thought this one was possibly better, but I guess I don't know what was going through my head at the moment. I was probably busy, probably at work, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to bring one of these two rooks, and I'm going to put a discover check, and I'm going to take your queen. That is the entire reason why I did that rook move. He plays this pawn move, and I said, that doesn't do anything. Let me just take your bishop for free. Now he's definitely lost. And if he plays any move that's passive, he's going to get hit with this check. So he needs to move his queen. But sadly, he doesn't. And I check and I take his queen. And so now, it's easy from here on out. Queen here. I'm now threatening to take your rook. And I'm going to do some nasty tactics if you don't develop your bishop or keep this rook safe. This king is deep fried, as this entire diagonal is taken up. This bishop is very strong. This bishop, a little bit on the passive side, but it can get into business in the future. He plays this bishop move, and then I played this move. And why is this move so good? It does so many things. It threatens mate. If you take its mate, if you try and defend, I can take, and there's nothing you can do. Even if you sacrificed and went here again, Stockfish says, yeah, just go here, and you're completely winning. And this move is so brutally good. Bishop h6. Sacrificing the bishop. He takes, and because this diagonal is completely taken up, I play queen here. And ladies and gentlemen, that is checkmate in 19 moves. This was a really good game. I really appreciated it because I utilized my bishops and I found smart tactics such as bishop h6, which I don't think a lot of people know that it is a good move, but I played it and it made me a solid person in the end. The next game that I do have for you is against my opponent named Kai. I believe he is from California, and he has some experience in rapid and in daily chess. He's 1200 in rapid, and he is 1100 in daily. So I was going to expect a good game. And so he starts out with e4. And so in this position, I was like, okay, I can either play Caro or Sicilian, but I was feeling pretty devious, as I don't play a Sicilian, but I do. We play an open Sicilian, where we take the C and D pawns off the board, develop our knights, develop our bishops, I fianchetto and castle, and he takes, I take, and he brings his bishop back. In this position, the computer likes h6, but I decide to bring out my queen, as this is actually a more human move. It attacks instantly the b2 pawn, and as a result, it is best just to walk your bishop back, but he decides to attack. Now this is a bad move, instantly, because now it initiates some tactics, and I go here, and this initiates this plan. I'm saying, hey, I'm attacking your weak f2 pawn, and you have to do something about it. You have to either bring your queen here, bring your queen here. Bringing your rook is not very good, as there are some tactics involved with actually just taking the free pawn. And he doesn't see that, though. And in this position, my opponent plays bishop takes and says, I'm going to use danger levels, and I'm going to attack this, and I'm going to attack this. But this doesn't work, because I can take your weak pawn, and he can go back. But guess what? I thought for a while, and I said, okay, there's no checkmates. I can't go here. There's no smother mate, all that, because king can actually take. But I was looking into this, and I said, I'm not sure what to do. So I play this rook move. And this loses advantage because this pawn is for free. It can be taken by this, or it can be taken by this or this. And I completely forgot about it. But my opponent keeps attacking my queen. And the evaluation gives me a winning position after this. And I realized that I can sacrifice the queen. You cannot take because I fork your king and queen, and I'm simply up material. You take, I go here, you go here, and I take, and he takes, and I'm just up a full piece. I am literally up a full bishop. With no repercussions. This is winning a full bishop. And he doesn't see that. And then he plays this move. And I realized I can still continue to win with this. At first, I don't see this free pawn. And instead I play knight e3. Which instantly starts to lose again. Because, well, not lose, but lose a bigger advantage. Because queen takes, and then queen takes, and then knight takes. And so forth, so on and so forth. Playing this move also shoots and says, hey, I'm now threatening mate. But my opponent completely forgets that I can just queen mate. And I queen mate. For, a very interesting game where I sacrifice my queen in order to gain a material advantage. But in the end, I come up on top with a little bit of a cheeky mate in this game. There are some things that I wish I would have done. Believe it or not, in this position, when he had played this move, I liked the knight, and I also liked the queen takes. But I also realized that what I should have done is I should have automatically gone and retreated my queen. I like queen f4, and this is considered the best move because if you do take, it's mate in one, but not just it throwing mate in one, but it also attacks the bishop. It was the same idea for the last game, but I just didn't find it. And I was feeling a little bit disappointed, as usually I do find moves like that, and I try to get my queen more active. But like I said, it's daily chess, and when you're working, and when you are constantly busy and doing things, stuff gets in the way. People blunder mates. People lose positions. People hang pieces for no reason. And this was just a perfect example of how to win and how to get lucky at the same time. So that is my second game. The next game that I do have here is against my Kenyan opponent named Ikubano. And Ikubano is around 1300 rapid, I believe, last checking. And he's also an 1100 rated opponent. So he also has some daily experience. And, I decided, okay, I'm going to be solid and positionally sound and try not to go for any weird ideas or tactics. So we go e4, and I play the Caro-Kann. And I make this bishop g4 idea. I don't do the usual, advanced variation where there's this, and there's d4, and then there's e6. And I wanted to get a little bit more provocative. I said, hey, I'm going to attack your knight, and I want to exchange it usually. That's the idea. He plays this. I make my little triangle. I like this. I'm pretty safe. I always love the Caro-Kann defense and what it has to offer. And then I play c5. Pretty much all Caro-Kann ideas is to get the c5, this knight out, this rook to c8, and then a minor pawn push. That is pretty much the idea. Shout out to International Master Alex on YouTube. If you know, you know. And yes, in this position, it is good to take, but I just simply develop my knight, simply develop my queen. Same idea from the last game. This queen b3 or b6 idea is always lethal. I always like it. Takes, and knight out. I'm winning in this position. Now why? Well, because I'm going to develop my knight, get into the game, develop my bishop and castle. And most of my pieces are out and they're better. I also have some pressure on this piece. And overall, I am just more sound. My queen is ready to get into the game. And I take, and then I take his queen because there's an exchange, but I'm simply up a pawn. And I thought about this at first, and I was wondering, I was like, okay, do I go knight here, or do I simply just take? And I realized if I was to take, knight takes, knight takes queen, and then and pick up the free pawn. And I realized, and I said, yo, I like this. If I'm up a free pawn and I can just simplify it to an endgame, I can win. I can literally win. And I was thinking at that time that if I just am up a pawn or just 2 pawns and just simplify to an endgame, I'll be good. And so I did that. Took the queens off the board. He brings his knight back, and I bring my bishop back. And then I bring out my knight, and then he decides to attack and says, hey, I'm going to threaten you with a fork. So I bring out my king. I know I didn't get the chance to castle, but it was the best move. He brings out his rook. Now he's doing this. And he says, hey, I'm going to try and threaten possible checkmating ideas. But this knight on e3 is a saving grace because now it's blocked. Takes, and I'm simply winning. I have ideas of now kicking the knight back to c3, going c5, and just continuing to fight. And I do just that. But I played a really bad move. I played f5. And you know why I played f5? Because there's always the tempting move of en passant. And I like this. I like this a lot. That was the entire idea of f5, was for my opponent to en passant. Because, you know, it's always tempting to play en passant, especially at 1100, 1200. And I was like, you know what? I'm either going to lock myself in and, you know, play as is, or you're going to take an en passant and I'm just going to get super nice bishops. Now, the really bad part about this move is it blocks in this bishop, and this bishop was once powerful. This bishop had this entire area, but with f5, I wasn't thinking, and it doesn't do anything. And the evaluation says that this bishop was so powerful that this handicapped its ability to do anything. And so, once again, he brings back his knight, hoping to go here. But like I said, I'm going to bring out my rook, and then I'm going to play c5. Now this is not able. And you cannot do any sort of infiltration. He brings out his rooks, but guess what? I'm going to push my pawn. And now I'm going to bring out my bishop. Now this bishop move is considered an inaccuracy because of simply just taking. And then, you know, even if you went takes, this is considered a draw. Because, you know, you have these, and it's no longer a winning game. This bishop was strong, and now it's not. And I realized that I shouldn't have given up the bishop. I should have utilized my bishops like the first game. And, you know, he doesn't take, but I still leave that bishop hanging, just ready to be taken. And he takes. And now this is a draw. But my opponent is still losing. h3 is not a good move at all. Why? Well, it simply just hangs a pawn, And my opponent simply should have just gone b4. Because now it's just a draw. I have to go back to c8. You know, he's going to push. I got to go here. He's going to bring his other rook. And, you know, after all the exchange and after all the dust settles, it's pretty much even. But my opponent does not figure that out. And he plays h3. Simply saying, I'm going to attack this pawn. With no legitimate reason. Because even if takes, now you activate my bishop once again. But he hung the pawn first, and this pawn was lethal. But now the walls are going to start crumbling down. Now this is a bad move because takes, and it's once again a draw. But my opponent doesn't see that. I take. He threatens ideas of, you know, infiltration. But I play this. The eval once again, up and down. Stockfish not liking this. But I felt very confident. I said, you know what, I'm winning. You can't do anything. You gotta, you know, somehow defend this pawn. This pawn is dropping. I gotta pass pawn. And I felt really confident. He played this, and I was like, oh, it's over. And I said, you know what, I can actually walk my king through fire. And you're probably thinking, what? This is a horrible move. Because now you're going to get set up with this. And then he's going to run his pawn and all this stuff. But I realized, actually, I'm just baiting his rook on this one. His rook is the most powerful piece in the game. And him checking loses. Because after he takes, there's a fork. But there's also bishop back. Now, I could have forked him right away. But I said, you know what? I like bishop e8. Because this pawn cannot be defended no more. I'm going to be up 3 pawns. You play this. I'm going to be up 3 pawns. You take. And I got the pass pawn. And in the end, my opponent resigned. And I won this game. Believe it or not, even though Stockfish had the eval going up and down minorly, but in a way that, you know, was still winnable for white, I came up on top and won this game. Now this is my game against an unrated player who for the first time took Chess Daily religiously, competitively, and worked hard at what he did, considering that he was not a timeout. And basically, he played every single one of his games, I believed, as an unrated opponent. And he played very well. This is Zenitsu from Bangladesh. He plays e4, and I play e5. And we have a Vienna, and now a Petrov, and then I do the Petrov 3 knights. I've been learning the Petrov, but you know me, I don't always know a theory. He takes, I castle, and then he goes back. Now this is bad, because I can simply just take, or I can also play e8, and I'm looking pretty healthy. I take, he goes here, and the best move in this position is to actually just go rook e8, sacrifice the bishop, and just take. Because now you got a lot of pressure on this king side and on this e file. But I play this, and this is bad for one of 2 reasons. There is this move, knight g4, and this threatens the queen and the bishop at the same time, and you end up just losing your bishop. And I should have lost this game. I am dead loss after 6 moves. Crazy to think about it. But my opponent played this move, and I knew that this was bad, and so I brought my bishop back, saved it, and then I played this knight move too. White is now winning because he can push with d4 and just suffocate all my pieces, and now he gets this massive center. But he plays b4 and gets super aggressive for no reason. Kind of does a reverse stonewall. Well, not a reverse stonewall, but a semi-stonewall. Just need to finish it off with this and maybe the queen here or whatever. But you know me, I take, and then he kind of plays an interesting move of d2 takes e5, which is the best. And now you are starting to pressure more of my pieces. And he goes here, and he gets really aggressive. And at this point, I'm like, oh my word, what is going on? This guy is literally insane. So I move my knight, but I'm lost. h4 wins the knight. Because even though this looks safe, queen d5. Oh, absolutely cruel. This is scary. Really scary. Thankfully, he was not as good enough to see that. But he took, and I took, and now I'm better. Why? Because now you're going to be losing these pawns. These pawns had an objective. If the queen had gotten into the game, it was over for me. But taking the knight and exchanging it, thinking, oh, it's even material, is not good. Because now I get this, and your queen is too late. Even if you try to defend like this, I'm still taking one of your pawns. And I'm going to be up a pawn too. And what if I trade your queens and get to another endgame like the last one? And so he plays this. I take his pawn. Then he plays queen d4, which I suggested earlier. I develop my knight. Takes. And now I'm winning. Why? The queens are off the board. And look at this position. It looks like it's perfect. All I need to do is like d6, bring out my bishop, connect the rooks, and I'm good. And trading the queens was a bad idea. You should have kept the queens on the board because they're your most powerful piece. But we get a queen trade, and then it starts to fall apart. I bring out d5, solidify my pawn structure, and just start bringing and developing my pieces. And now I start to travel a little bit. I do h5 to prevent takes. And I continue to fight, and I realize this is a bad move at first. Even though I'm attacking the knight, there is bishop check, and that completely forks a king and a bishop and a knight. But me seeing not a lot of things and being busy with life, it's hard. It's hard to see things. And he doesn't see it though, because I can take. Oh wait, what was the move, you may say? The eval was looking good. Well, guess what? It's actually rook a to d8 that wins, because it defends this pawn. But me being the silly goose that I am, decides to take and think, oh, I have a fork. But guess what? I'm still hanging this. This is not retrievable, because takes, and now this pawn is about to go too. He checks, he takes another free pawn, and now it's a draw. Ladies and gentlemen, I am drawing in this position against an 800 elo unrated daily chess player. This is seriously embarrassing. But I didn't give up, and I decided to connect my rooks and still fight. And now I'm back in the advantage because I have b6. I can solidify my position. He tries to strike back, try and open things up, but guess what? I'm going to go here, I'm going to seize control, attack this bishop, and then he plays this move. And this move is really bad because I can sacrifice the knight. And if you take with the bishop, I take your rook. Oh, this is glorious. This was considered a brilliant move by chess.com because I realized, I said, wait a minute, that's a free pawn. Now I'm just up a pawn. And remember, when the queens are off the board, pawns are so important in endgames. He takes, I take. I'm 2 rooks for his rook and bishop. And now I'm winning. Connect the rooks. Take more material. Cut off the king. Now he's boxed in this little area. I was so happy with this. I was like, this is good. Do a little bit more shuffling. And now I play a4 because now I'm going to just go and promote. He can't go here because it will just be taken. And he has no momentum at all. And then he hangs his rook and resigns. It was good because I was able to come back from a position, and even though I had many times where I had dropped complete advantages, I somehow managed to convert, all from a knight sacrifice. Knight takes g4. Wow. From a completely drawn position. Completely drawn. He could have done so much. For example, like just taking this pawn, he could have done too. This position is completely drawn. He could have had me not make it to the next round. But instead, he didn't find what he needed. And in the end, this structure was saved. This knight sacrificed to reveal an attack. And I came out on top. Like the last game, it was all fun. But this guy was out for blood. So we had a rematch. And this game was even better than the last game. I'm telling you, this game was great. Let me get you started. And in this position, starting with white, I said, you know what? I'm going to be a little bit creative. Knight f3, and we play a red A. And in this position, you know, there's ideas of c5 or e6, solidifying your position. But no, he plays this. Looks like a natural move, but takes. And now I got d4 and knight c3, and I'm just going to develop all my pieces. I take the knight with b3, because if I took with this, we get no castling opportunities. And I like b takes c3 because now I can play d4 and have a lot of center space. He plays a6 to avoid his pin, and then I play d4. I'm feeling great. And so now we continue on. He says, I'm going to fight back. I'm going to play b5. But no, b5 does nothing. I can seriously just walk back to d3. Now I'm safe. Now your pawns can't do anything. He brings out his bishop. He's like, I've got you pinned, but I'll just play h3. And he has to walk back. And now I have huge opportunities to win. I play g5. I have a massive advantage. You have nothing in your favor. He tries to go after this weak g2 pawn. But like I said, I got more space than you can ever imagine. And I'm going to fork your bishop and your knight. Takes. And I just go here, trade the queens, and I'm winning. It was that easy. Because I have space, I forked your pieces, I took your queens out of the game, and now I'm winning. All I need to do was convert. I play a4 so that you can't play this, and you have to take, but he doesn't take right away, and he plays this move. And this move is bad, because this loses a rook. Bishop c6. This would be mate if this was like a knight or a bishop, believe it or not. And yeah, he loses his rook. I bring my rook to safety. Trade. He hangs his knight, and I'm just looking good. I'm going to take your rook, and I'm going to take that free pawn that you left, and you cannot stop this. This is impossible to stop. Maybe this maybe, but this is covered. So there's no opportunity. And I beat this man in 28 moves cleanly. Traded the queens, got to a nice endgame. I was up material, and it ended up winning this game, all because of just a simple fork, simple pawn movements, and simple attacking ideas. Just slow and steady, attacking one piece, attacking another, forking up two pieces, taking out the queens for no counterplay, and just simple tactics and ideas, and just converting. And that was that game. Now, chess is not all about winning. You do have to have losses. And I'm going to show you this game against Kai. Now, you probably may know the result of what this game is, but I'm telling you, focus is always key. Let's start the game off. I play e4. I play an Alpine Sicilian. This man is Sicilianing me after I beat him with the Sicilian. Funny how that works. But we play an Alpine Sicilian where he brings out his bishop and his queen, trying to fight for a possible fork. But this does not work. And I should have played a3 right away, but I kept on developing, brought out my bishop, and yeah, this is where things start to get a little hairy. He takes my knight. To remove the defender, I cannot take the bishop first. I have to take this knight first. I do, and then I take his bishop. Still even, and now he moves his queen to block me from castling. And I play a4, which is the best move. This now has to address you to move back. And you cannot play this move, because I'm just going to continue on fighting for my position. And this queen may stop me from castling. But is it going to do much? That's it. Anyways, like I said, he played c4, which is now making your defense and your attack a little bit more solid. So I continued. I said, hey, let's trade queens. We trade queens, even position. I manually castle my king. He plays b5, I take, and my idea was, okay, I'm going to reroute and, get into the position. But me thinking that I was an absolute genius and then realizing it till later, blunders the bishop. For no reason. Just straight up blunders the bishop. That's one free bishop. And, yeah, I couldn't recover. I tried to attack pieces, but he defended too well. I was considering to play all the best moves. I played this. I had to strike with my pawns. And he's just up a bishop. I may be up a pawn, but he's up a bishop. And I gotta, run my pawns forward. Even though his king can't get through, there's nothing I can do. I have to take. I have to move my pawn so it doesn't get taken. He goes here, and I have no more moves. I play this, sacrifice, try and attack his bishop, but he's got everything defended. All because I forgot to make a right move, and I was distracted, and I'm just I just completely lost it. I tried to do everything in my power to get back, and yeah, checks me. I move and I resign because there's takes, takes, and this is just winning completely. Like there's no reason. You're just going to go here, and then take, and you got a free pawn, and you just march it down. All because of one crucial mistake, and that being the serious and horrifyingly sad bishop blunder. Like I said, this tournament is not always fair, but sometimes you need redemption. And that's where we get the final game. After I blundered, I said, you know what? I'm going to see if I can try and solidify a winning opportunity. And that's where I played this crazy game. I had to figure out how am I going to win when all hope is lost. So I decided to experiment. E4, E5, and we got the Vienna game. We go through some mainline principles and we do the pulse and attack. This is recommended by Gotham, and Gotham does a very good idea. The idea is knight takes and then b takes and then striking with d4. That's the entire idea, and this will give you a serious advantage. And the Vienna will give you a serious advantage if people don't know it, but many people don't know it. And in this position, my opponent plays this, and I knew he was losing. I said, yes, this falls into d4. Now I got a really nice pawn chain, and this is the only pawn like that has made any development, and I have my queen developed. I can bring out my bishop whenever I want, both bishops if I really wanted to, bring out my knight this way, and then castle and target this weak pawn, and I did just that. Bring out my bishop, bring out my knight, made 2 moves with it. He goes here, I take that free pawn, and I'm just winning. He castles long, which is the best move, and I decided, you know what? I'm going to see if I can do something fun. And I thought, wait a minute. I'm going to come up with a brilliant idea. Bishop h6! You're probably thinking, oh, that's a brilliant move. Oh my goodness, if he takes, it's mate. Yeah, right. That's not mate. It's blocked. And I didn't know that till later. And I could have lost this game as well. I should have. I shouldn't even be first place. Believe it or not, I am stupid at chess. At this time, I had lost over 200 blitz points and were losing positions like this in my games. But when you think you've made a blunder, your opponent will always blunder harder. This is not a safe move because queen c6 wins on the spot. You can't take because the bishop is there. And this duo, which looks like it gets forked, wins like this. And I win this game by a fluke. By a miracle of God, I win this. And this was one of the games that helped me make it to the next round. And I kid you not, this tournament was fun. But man, do I need to work on my chess. And there are so many things that I've learned through this tournament that I need to work on. So, in conclusion, there are 3 things that I've learned from this tournament. Number 1, time is important. Use as much time and think about the position as much as possible and don't rush. Number 2, convert properly, and if you know you have an advantage, don't settle for draws. And number 3 is to continue the fight even though you're losing. And even if your opponent thinks that they are losing in a position that they are winning, continue to fight till the very end. And those are 3 things that I learned from this tournament. Had a lot of fun in round 1, and I hope to see you guys in round 2. Peace.